Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking. I want to talk to you today about Speakeasy Blues. I don't have a game board for you because all I have is a prototype. I do apologize. Speakeasy Blues is a game for 2 to 4 people that each person is going to be running a speakeasy during the Roaring 20s when alcohol was illegal. It's a kind of a weird dice placement type action selection type worker kind of thing going on. It's tough to explain. I've been in love with these types of dice placement. Kind of like worker placement, fringe type game. Ever since the first game, I played Kingsburg when I played that, and I thought that game was amazing. And so anytime I've ever been able to take a worker placement type situation and then add dice to it, I've really enjoyed it. So this was no different. Artana, they seem to really enjoy making games that are grounded in historical themes. And I really like that, because then the immersion level kind of increases. And sometimes, in games like this, you don't really feel like you're actually playing the theme of the game that you're doing, right? And you don't really so it just it feels kind of anachronistic or what have you. It just doesn't seem real, if you will. And then you don't necessarily have to have that real feeling for the game to be fun, but for me it definitely helps. But regardless, let me show you how the game is played. Like I said, it has this really funky, cool dice action type of thing going on that I really dug. So let me show you that, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, let's learn Speakeasy Blues. This has 2 game boards out right now. This is the main game board that everybody's going to be using and doing their actions and collecting cards and what have you. I'll explain that in just a few moments. Then each person is going to have their own player board that's right in front of them. The player board is going to represent their speakeasy. It has 4 different spots for cards. At the beginning of the game, you only have access to 2 spots. Later on, you'll be able to spend money. You can see 1 money, 2 money. That'll open up those other locations. Once you've opened them up, they're open for the rest of the game, and you can then place 4 cards. This is a game where you're going to be building a tableau. I like tableau building games. I like the idea of stacking cards and doing things with them. The important thing to mention, though, is that you only get to use the top card if there's an action or an ability. You only get to use the top card because you're going to be covering cards up as the game progresses. At the very end of the game, the cards underneath might be worth some points or what have you, but as you are, playing it, you only get to use the top card. And I'll explain that a little bit further in just a little bit. You can see there's all these little spots here in the middle. Those are going to be taken up by dice. This has a very cool and unique, well, I don't know if it's unique, maybe somebody else has done it before, but it has a very innovative, I guess, or fun way to use dice that I haven't really encountered before. There are 3 decks of cards, as you see. This is the gangster/cop deck, otherwise known as the crime deck. This is the collection deck, and this is the society deck. The collection deck is going to have cards like these over here, which are going to allow you to collect things that are going to be worth points at the end of the game. And then over here you have society, and those are just going to be people from the 1920s, and I'll show those to you also in a quick moment. In the middle is this soiree button. Basically, if you throw a soiree, you're going to, depending upon who you have in your speakeasy on the top at that time, you will gain some money or reputation because you're throwing a big party at your spot. So that's that. Oh, one last thing here. This is the event deck. The events is a 10-card deck that you create. You get lots of those cards, so it's going to be different each time. You can't count on certain cards to show up. The cards are going to have, like I said, either they're going to have events or contests, and the events are going to have some sort of thing that's going to affect that particular round of the game. Contests don't have an effect, but they do get set aside until the end of the game, because then it's a way for people to gain some extra points if they've collected the right type of cards. For example, in the first round of the game, you'll always have a contest. You set the deck up, so there's a contest first. In this case, our contest is the World Series contest. It has this little baseball on there, and you notice over here there's a baseball in that Babe Ruth card. At the end of the game, we'll see who got the most like baseball players. You know, they're hanging out at their speakeasy, and if you're that person, then you're going to get some bonus points. All right. So, and one last thing, the Jazz tokens. Jazz was considered to be this like brand new type of like dangerous music or whatever. This is a dice game, so when you do take the Jazz action, you can collect these tokens, these +2 and this. This question mark. Basically, what those are going to do, they're going to be tokens that you're going to use that are going to allow you to change like your dice up and alter like the effects that the dice are going to have. Because if you have a die that you don't really like, then you can alter it. Also, and that's the wild action that basically allows you to change the die to whatever you want. The +2, these aren't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 on here. The +2 just is a doubling action, meaning that you can take the action that you take at that particular time a second time. So if you really like the option or the action that you took, you'd have access to it again. All right, so how does the game work? Well, at the beginning of the game, there aren't going to be dice out there. The first player is going to take there's dice. There's 2 dice of each color. They're going to take 3 of the colors. Here, let's just take these 3. They're going to roll these, and they're going to place these on the icons, and they're going to place them one by one. You do fill these, starting, you go left to right, meaning what you are going to fill, like if there's a white spot here that doesn't have one of these negative icons on there, you fill that in that spot first, and the other ones get filled up. So like here's a Hootch, we're going to go ahead and place there. There's a Society, we're going to place that there. A Crime, notice the Crime are both the negatives, so it doesn't really matter there. We have 2 Jazz, so we're going to go here and here. And then we have Society, and there we go. We place that. Now, if you had a situation where you wouldn't be able to play it, say like you had another Jazz icon here, like there, you would re-roll the die until it had a spot for it to go. So all the dice have to have a spot. So just keep that in mind. All right, so, and you do go from top to bottom and left, right. So, so there is a set way of putting the dice out. But here we go. We're going to roll these, and these then are set aside. So I got 2 Jazz and 2 Crime, and you set these aside because that is the starting die rolls at the beginning. So on the first turn of the game, whoever the first player is given this little repeal the 18th Amendment token. That's the first player token, and that will go to the person to the left with each successive turn. They're going to go ahead and take their action. But before that, because I forgot to do this, you're going to get 2 of these Speakeasy cards. Everybody has, there's several of them, and everybody gets 2. You're going to have 2 of these, and you're going to pick which Speakeasy you're going to have. Depending upon this will tell you what the starting resources are. And so here we get, these are basically the same, other than the Kit Kat Lounge starts with a 0 reputation, the merry-go-round starts with a -1, and you get a Crime card, or you get a collection card. So I like the idea of having the Kit Kat Lounge, so we're going to take that. And let me just show you a few of these other ones, just so you can kind of see that they aren't all going to be, the same. There's even one in here that has just a ton of money and not much else. Yeah, there we go. Just a ton of money. Nothing but just money, 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 money. So, depending upon your Speakeasy, it's just going to start you off with some extra things. Actually, after the first round of the game, this doesn't even need it anymore, other than the fact that you can just say, I run the Kit Kat Lounge, which I guess is kind of cool. But, so I took this, so we do take one of these collection cards off the top. I see here I got a Ford Model A. It's going to be worth 4 points in the game, and if I held a soiree, because of this icon here and this is my top card, I would get a money for holding a soiree if my Speakeasy if I use that. Now, in the future, if I cover that up, if there was an action on it and I covered it up, it wouldn't I wouldn't be able to use that action anymore. But like if I covered this up with another car, and there could be other cards as well, like that happen. But if I manage to place like multiple of the same type of collection, because you can kind of see that icon down there, on the same spot and build that up in that spot, then I'm going to be able to score all the cars in the pile at the end of the game, which is something I want to be able to do. All right, so maybe on my turn, if I can take that, that'd be a good idea for me to do because I'd have that. And I was going to just actually show you. So like, the collection cards, there's like movies, there's horses, there's a sailboat, cars, and so you have these different just basically luxury expensive items. If you have them, they're kind of worth a little bit to show off of. Now I'm just going to show you some society cards. So as you'd expect from Artana, they do have historical significance, like Babe Ruth, Willie the Lion Smith, Elizabeth Adam, Charlie Chaplin, and you'll notice that these have like different actions, so you can see like spending money and get a bunch of reputation. Babe Ruth actually has a spot there that is an action that, like, if you had a Hootch die, you could, instead of taking the Hootch action up there, you could instead do this one. You would get 3 Hootch, instead of the normal action, which normally only gets you 2. Well, 1 or 2, but I'll explain that in a little bit. So, but as again, if you had that and then you covered it up with something else, you would lose the action. Now, all right, so how do you take a turn? So I'm finally getting to that. All right, so at the beginning of your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 dice off of the same color that's over here. And you're going to remove them from the board and basically freeing up some spots on that location. And so the thing is that so if there's an action that you want to take, like if you really wanted to do a jazz action, you would need to take a die off the jazz action. Otherwise, there's no way you could actually take that particular action. So maybe you want to do a Hootch action or whatever. So let's just let's go ahead and remove the collections action, yellow die, and the crime action, yellow die, off of the board. After removing them, you are going to take these 2 dice and you're going to re-roll them. And then, so now I got a Hootch and a jazz action. And, of course, even though I took that card, I should have also taken 1 Hootch and 3 money tokens. Now, you can, on your turn, one time, you can spend $1 and re-roll all of the dice that are available if you wanted to. That's like one of those things where it's like you could hopefully get the icons you want. Now you might be asking, so now how do you take the action? So you take the action by choosing 2 of the dice of the same color to take your action. But here's the funny thing here. We have a situation where all 3 of these sets have the jazz icon, and we have no jazz spots available. So what happens in that situation is that no matter what I choose, you re-roll that die until you'd have a spot for it, and then you'd place it in that spot, but you'd get no benefit from doing so. You don't get to re-roll into it. So in this case, I want to spend the $1 to be able to re-roll all the dice, so hopefully I can get a set that has no jazz icon, so I can make sure I get both of my actions, because not having both your actions kind of stinks. And now I re-rolled and I got no jazz icons at all, which is a good thing. So I got 2 of these favors. I got a collection and a crime, and I got a society and a Hootch. I like that a lot better. So looking here, I kind of want to build up my car collection, so I'm going to take these 2. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one and I'm going to place it in that spot. Now I could place it here, but that would cost me reputation. But strangely, I would get a money for doing it. Maybe you're doing some illegal, back alley dealings or what have you. But I don't want to take a minus for reputation because I'm going to get a minus for reputation anyway because of the fact that I have to use one of these crime actions over here, and those both have a minus. So now I could, if I wanted to, take the top card, but I don't want to do that. I want to take this car and place it on top of there. And now, of course, I'm going to replace, and I'm going to put another horse down into that collection. Now, what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to take this action, I'm going to take a crime action. I take the top 3 cards, and I'm going to look at these, and I'm going to be able to pick one. I'm going to put 2 at the bottom of the deck. So I have Lucky Luciano, as you can probably guess, is a mob boss. Samuel Battle, which is a cop, and Elliot Ness, which obviously is a cop. So you might notice this little minus on the bottom. So if he is actually like face up on my thing, and I did like a soiree, I would have like a negative reputation when they did that. Cops don't have any reputation token on them. However, whichever one of these that I pick, I place them face down on the board, and you'll notice there's that little plus there. A face down cop or crime, is worth a plus. Notice all of them have that plus icon on the back. Is worth a plus reputation if you're in a soiree. Important to note. Now, the reason you put these face down is because the actions that you take on these, like the crime actions that you take, are like situations where they're like sneaky tricks or attacking other players, and you use them to kind of beat them down or take their stuff or be not so nice, if you will. So looking at these 3, what we have Lucky Luciano, and what this does is that, like, as an action, you can use this to steal somebody's jazz token from somebody else who collected one. You could use his ability. Now, if you turn these cards over and use like the crime action, anybody who has a face down police card on their board can turn it over and prevent it from happening. Of course, then they can't prevent another one and they're face up. But when the cops go face up, in this case, both of these have actions. Elliot Ness allows you to either buy a doubler token from the Jazz for 3 money, or they can sell a doubler token for 3 money, and they can use that anytime on your turn. Samuel Battle allows you to swap 2 cards in your Speakeasy and move and switch them around, which is a really good ability, obviously, when you want to make sure that like certain cards are on top and what have you. So I'm going to take Samuel Battle, actually, and I'm going to place him face down there. And then I'm going to take these 2 cards, and these 2 go on the bottom of the deck, like so. And now nobody knows which card that I have. And, that's my entire turn. The next person would go, and so on and so forth, and each person would do it. Now, a lot of these actions, you didn't actually get to see what happens, so I want to explain everything that you, like the different things that happen. Over here, these are reputation tokens, or these are influence that you have with cops and 2 mob families. When you place a token in these spots, these 2 are worth negative reputation, obviously because you're gaining influence with 2 mobster families. But you do whatever the dollar amount is over here, you gain that dollar amount from that. So in this case, you get a World Series, you get $2, $3, $3, and you can see these change as these events come rifling through. At the very end of the game, majority in these tokens is going to lead you to like getting bonuses, and you'll also notice that these cards like have these token those symbols on them as well, and so you have those to basically gain majority and gain victory points at the end of the game. So that's when you that's how you get a hold of these tokens. And these aren't secretive. You don't have like somewhere where you cover them up or anything like that. People get to see, what you have. There's like really not a lot of like hidden information, if you will. Over here, the collection, like we showed that as far as you can, if you want to, take a random card off the top if you so desire. You do, and I did screw this up. I apologize. When I took this thing, I would have had to spend $1 on it to get it. So you don't just grab it automatically. So it does cost the money that's listed in the top left. So just keep that in mind. So like if there is a thing over there that's worth like a lot of points, like is there, I think, yeah, like that horse is worth 5. You would have to have 5 money to be able to purchase that. And you do have the ability to spend $1 to re-rack those. Like take 4, put them on the bottom of the deck, and draw 4 new ones, if you will. And that's a good way to keep cards out of people's hands. But also, if nothing over there you really like, you can do that. Over here, you just can take, once again, take the top card or take one of the people in society. Same thing, you can re-rack those as well. Though society cards don't cost anything to take them. And finally, last but certainly not least, the Hootch spots. If you take this spot with just, you get one free Hootch if you place there. If you go here, you get 2 Hootch, but you lose 1 point of reputation. And while I'm speaking of reputation, reputation can be tough to gain. There's like, you either have to run soirees to do it, or like you have to, like there's certain like society members that you'll be able to use to do so, to get more reputation. If you are at this -3 and an action asks you to like take negative reputation to do it, you can't do the action. You can't just go negative. So you have to actually like find a way to increase reputation before you be able to take those particular actions. All right. So at the end of the game, after you get through all 10 of the events, you're going to check your favor tokens, check those and the cards, and then the first player is going to, person who has the most of those gets 10 victory points, the second most gets 6, and the third most gets 2. For every contest that you have, you're going to check those icons as well. The person that is in the lead of those, you will, you'll actually see there's 4 victory points, so the person who has the most of those is going to get 4. And then you're going to get victory points equal to your reputation. Your collections, you score a victory point for each of your collection cards, but if you've managed to place them in these spots together, then you'll get that bonus as well. And then you also get a victory point for every 2 bottles of Hootch you have left over, and for every $3 you have left over as well. Whoever has the most points, obviously, will be the winner, and will be the winner of Speakeasy Blues. This is a game that has a lot of time-honored, mechanisms that I really like. Like I said, I like tableau building. I enjoy, trying to stay ahead. Do I do a smattering of things, or do I focus on one thing? But the thing that stood out for me, one was the theme. Artana, they always make sure that their theme, comes through, even in their strategy games. But I really, really, really enjoyed the dice mechanism in this one. It was fantastic. And let me talk more about that and just how much I enjoyed the game in my final thought. All right, everybody, thank you very much for taking the time to watch how to play Speakeasy Blues. Just the dice thing, as I said, is the thing that really, really struck home for me. I love the whole, the dualistic of it, the whole process of having to remove 2 dice to basically free open spots that you possibly want to use, and then having to choose 2 dice, hopefully rolling those 2 and, getting dice that can work for you, but then having those 2 dice that are going to be going to different spots. So you have these tough decisions, kind of like I showed you then, when we have to spend $1 to reroll all of them, if you will, but sometimes maybe you don't have that money to spend, or you don't want to, and so then you're forced to kind of take an action that here's one action that I really want to do, but here's that one action that I don't really care if I do it or not, but I have to place it, and then the action takes place. So it's one of those things where every once in a while, yeah, you'll have 2 dice that'll work perfectly for you, but there are going to be times when it's just you're kind of behind the 8 ball, and tough decisions is where games like this become fun, right? I guess I could play a game that oh, I get to do this and there's no problem. I get to do this and there's no problem. But ultimately, that's you're feeling like you're not really playing a game. You're not really being tested. You're not being challenged, if you will. And so I really liked that. And I do like the fact that you can kind of see what everybody's doing. You can kind of keep an eye on it. And I really appreciated the fact that you had the cops and the robbers kind of thing. And the fact that you have the bad guys that allow you to really screw with each other. So there's too many of these games where it's just oh, well, look, you got the perfect card because you paid $1 to reshuffle, and you got another, sailboat that's going to be worth, 87,000 points at the end of the game. But luckily, you have these bad guys that will allow you to go ahead and muck with other people and hinder their abilities. So, I really appreciate the fact that there are people that do that. And it makes sense then. It's and I like how the flip side of the cop cards will have these like really good abilities. I mean, like, you know, just the ones I showed you. I mean, the fact that you could like switch cards, I mean, that's a great ability to have. But you know, you don't want to show it yet, right? Because one, you have the reputation thing. So if you throw a Sora, you're going to gain reputation. Reputation's tough, man. That is a tough road to hoe. You know, keeping your reputation up. But regardless, it's another tough decision, right? It's like, oh, well, you know, I want to flip this guy over, so I have this cool power, and you can do that anytime you want. But the moment you do, then you lose that protection from somebody messing with you. So it's a cool part. It's a cool aspect of the game, and it's one of those things where, you know, I call it like when I'm smiling while I'm playing, right? You know, like my brain's kind of getting all funkified, trying to think of what I want to do, but I'm feeling, you know, the gears churning, you know, in my head, and I find myself saying, you know, wow, this is really fun. You know, and I like being able to say that at the table. So yeah, there you go. That's Speakeasy Blues. If you dig this dice placement type of game, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with this one. And you know, like just the whole theme thing, and plus just the route that Artana goes with their art. I like kind of the muted colors, if you the kind of less is more approach that they take. I like that. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you like put a bunch of awesome art on there, I'm going to notice it. And I think that's cool. But sometimes it's nice just to have something that's very evocative, if you will. All right. Anyway, so if you have any questions about Speakeasy Blues, please ask away. I'd be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.